The Howl Beneath the Moon. Chapter 1. Arrival in Ravenwood. Ethan Carter, a skeptical journalist with an ink-stained thumb and a cynic's heart, rolled into the small town of Ravenwood under the cover of night. The moon cast long shadows across dusty roads as he approached the weathered motel that would serve as his temporary home. He killed the engine and listened to the silence that followed, a symphony of whispers from an unseen world just beyond reach. It was a sound so soft, it could almost be missed amidst the din of city life, but tonight, it was amplified tenfold by the quietude that enveloped this seemingly sleepy town. A distant howl pierced the silence like a dagger through silk, a mournful cry echoing through the night air. Ethan stared into the darkness, trying to pinpoint its source but finding nothing but shadows dancing in the moonlight. Ravenwood, he muttered under his breath. I'm not sure if I'm more afraid of what's out there or what they might be hiding. He grabbed his trusty duffel bag from the back seat and shouldered it, leaving the car behind in favor of exploring this town on foot. The door of the office creaked open as he entered, revealing an elderly woman who looked up with a start. Welcome to the Ravenwood Motel, she greeted him in a soft voice. How may I assist you? Ethan glanced around the dimly lit room before replying. I'm here to cover a story. The local authorities are calling it animal attacks, but I have my suspicions. The woman nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving Ethan's face. I see. Well, if you need anything while you're here, just let me know. As he left the office and made his way to room 13, Ethan couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss in this seemingly peaceful town. The hairs on the back of his neck prickled, and a sense of unease settled over him like a thick fog. Chapter 2. The Labyrinthine Library. As Ethan navigated through the narrow aisles, filled with books from every genre imaginable, he couldn't help but feel like he was walking into a labyrinth of secrets and untold stories. Each volume seemed to whisper its own unique tale, beckoning him further into the heart of the store. Ethan paused before a towering shelf adorned with antique tomes and handcrafted editions. His eyes scanned their weathered spines, searching for clues about this peculiar place and its enigmatic proprietor. He had been warned about Serena. Her quiet demeanor concealed an unwavering dedication to her shop, as well as a guarded nature that few could penetrate. The air hung heavy, with the smell of old paper and ink, intermingled with an almost palpable sense of mystery. Serena greeted him cautiously, her eyes scanning his face as if trying to discern his intentions. What brings you here today? She asked softly, her voice barely audible over the soft rustling of pages. I'm looking for information on the history of this town, he replied cautiously, still unsure of how much to reveal about his own presence in Ravenwood. Serena nodded slowly, acknowledging his request with a subtle shift in demeanor. She motioned towards a secluded corner of the store where they could talk without being overheard. As they made their way through the maze-like arrangement of shelves and displays, Ethan couldn't help but notice the unusual silver pendant that hung from Serena's neck. It seemed to catch the light in a way that was both captivating and slightly unsettling. Upon reaching the quiet corner, Serena began to share her insights into Ravenwood's history, tales of lost treasures, unexplained phenomena, and dark secrets that had been buried deep within the town's past. Ethan listened intently, absorbing every word as he attempted to piece together the puzzle that was this enigmatic place and its equally mysterious inhabitants. As their conversation continued, so too did Serena's guarded nature gradually give way to a sense of warmth and openness. It became clear that beneath her quiet demeanor lay a wealth of knowledge and wisdom that had been cultivated over years spent navigating the labyrinthine world of Ravenwood. And as Ethan delved deeper into this intricate tapestry of secrets and stories, he realized that he too would have to confront his own demons if he hoped to succeed in uniting the residents of this troubled town. With renewed determination, Ethan set forth on his journey, armed with the knowledge and insights gleaned from his time spent within the labyrinthine library. And though the road ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, he knew that he could count on Serena's guidance to help him navigate the treacherous terrain of Ravenwood's past, and perhaps even unlock its hidden secrets along the way. Once ensconced in 2 plush chairs nestled behind a row of towering bookshelves, Serena began to speak, her voice a low rumble like distant thunder. It's no secret that there are forces at work here that most people choose to ignore. Ethan leaned forward with keen curiosity, eager for any morsel of knowledge Serena was willing to share. He asked hesitantly. With a heavy sigh, she delved into the shelves and pulled out an ancient leather-bound book. This is an account of Ravenwood's founding, she explained, placing the book between them on the table. The town was built upon land that was once home to a powerful tribe known as the Blackfoot. Ethan cast a glance at the cover of the book, which bore an image of a fierce warrior standing guard over a small village. "And what does this have to do with the forces you mentioned earlier?" he pressed. "The Blackfoot were said to possess knowledge of ancient magic," Serena replied cryptically, her gaze never wavering from Ethan's face. "They believed they could harness this power to protect their people and ensure their survival. But as time passed, the line between good and evil blurred, leading to a dark pact that would eventually consume them all." As she spoke, Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. The thought of such powerful forces lurking beneath the surface of everyday life sent a frisson of fear through him. He looked at Serena, her expression unreadable behind the veil of mystery she wore, like a cloak. "But their legacy lived on in Ravenwood," Serena continued, her voice taking on a deeper tone. Like echoes from a forgotten past, whispers of the Blackfoot could still be heard among the shadows. Ethan nodded solemnly, his eyes wide with wonder and trepidation. He knew then that he was not just visiting Ravenwood, he was venturing into the heart of a legend that refused to die. Ethan stared at the shelves filled with books and trinkets from all corners of the globe, trying to absorb the new information Serena had shared about Ravenwood's dark history. He couldn't help but wonder if there was more truth to her words than he initially believed, despite the fact that it seemed impossible for such powerful forces to still be at work in their small town today. As their conversation continued, Ethan noticed a growing tension in Serena's demeanor. She appeared increasingly reluctant to share any further details about her own involvement in Ravenwood's history or the reason behind her silver pendant. He knew that if he wanted to uncover the truth, he would have to tread carefully and earn her trust along the way. Even as Ethan felt a growing unease about Serena's enigmatic nature, he also couldn't help but feel drawn towards her. There was something about her quiet strength and unwavering resolve that made him want to protect her, to stand by her side in the face of whatever dangers lay ahead. As they sat together in the dimly lit bookstore, Ethan could only hope that he would be able to earn Serena's trust and unlock the secrets that had been hidden away for centuries. For deep within the heart of Ravenwood, there was a darkness waiting to be exposed. A darkness that threatened not only their lives, but also the very soul of the town itself. Chapter 3. The crime scene. Ethan and Dr. Walsh arrived at the crime scene just as the sun began to break through the thick blanket of clouds above Ravenwood. The harsh glare of police cars and ambulances illuminated everything in sight, casting an eerie pallor over the town square. "Are you ready?" Ethan asked Dr. Walsh, who nodded solemnly. Together, they approached the taped-off area where the victim lay, surrounded by evidence markers and investigators clad in protective gear. As they examined the scene, Ethan couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease about Serena's enigmatic nature. Despite her quiet strength and unwavering resolve, he knew that if he wanted to uncover the truth, he would have to tread carefully and earn her trust along the way. Even as Ethan felt a growing unease about Serena's enigmatic nature, he also couldn't help but feel drawn towards her. There was something about her quiet strength and unwavering resolve that made him want to protect her, to stand by her side in the face of whatever dangers lay ahead. As they left the crime scene, Ethan could only hope that he would be able to earn Serena's trust and unlock the secrets that had been hidden away for centuries. For deep within the heart of Ravenwood, there was a darkness waiting to be exposed, a darkness that threatened not only their lives, but also the very soul of the town itself. Ethan stared at the scene before him, his mind racing with questions about who had done this, how they had died, and why he felt like he was walking into something far more sinister than a simple murder investigation. He watched as Dr. Walsh, ever professional, approached one of the police officers on duty and swiftly conferred with him before leading Ethan towards the body. As they drew closer, he could see that it was indeed Eleanor, her once vibrant skin now pallid under the stark illumination of the lights. Ethan felt a pang of grief at the sight of his beloved mentor lying there so coldly. However, pushing those feelings aside, he watched intently as Dr. Walsh began to examine the wounds inflicted upon her. It was clear from the outset that this was no ordinary murder. The damage done was far too extensive for anything less than a violent struggle. Dr. Walsh knelt down next to Eleanor's body, carefully examining each gash and bruise as if trying to decipher some hidden message within them. "These wounds are unlike anything I've ever seen before," she murmured under her breath, clearly disturbed by what she was seeing. Ethan noticed that Dr. Walsh seemed more than just professionally interested in this case. There was a palpable intensity to her demeanor, an almost obsessive need to uncover the truth behind Eleanor's death. It wasn't until later that he would realize just how deeply personal this tragedy had become for his mentor. As they worked side by side, Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency permeating their actions. Every blow seemed meticulously calculated, leaving no room for error or miscalculation. The exquisite craftsmanship of each wound stood out in stark contrast against the harsh glow of the light. Dr. Walsh's determination and focus on uncovering the truth were evident as she continued to examine the wounds inflicted upon Eleanor. Her dedication was unwavering, fueled by a desire to bring justice to their friend, who had lost her life in such a brutal manner. After several hours of meticulous examination, Dr. Walsh finally stood up from her task, her face etched with concern. "I've never seen anything like this before," she said softly, clearly shaken by what they had discovered. "These wounds, they're not natural." Ethan raised an eyebrow at her comment, wondering what could possibly be so unusual about the injuries inflicted upon Eleanor. Dr. Walsh must have sensed his confusion, because she quickly elaborated. "The marks on her skin are too symmetrical, too precise. They're almost as if they were made by a knife with razor-sharp edges." Ethan stared at the body once more, now seeing the cuts in a whole new light. It was true. Each wound was perfectly aligned along Eleanor's arms and torso, creating a pattern that seemed. And then there was the other detail, the absence of any defensive wounds on her hands or wrists, suggesting that she had not been struggling against her attacker when they struck. As they continued to pore over the evidence, Ethan began to notice something else about Eleanor's body, a strange symbol carved into her palm. It was an intricate design, unlike anything he had ever seen before. He reached out to touch it, his fingers brushing against the cool skin of her hand as he did so. In that moment, he felt a sudden surge of energy course through him, as if some unseen force were reaching out to him across the miles. It was a sensation unlike any other he had ever experienced, one that left him reeling and disoriented. He shook his head slightly, trying to clear the fog from his mind as he looked back at Eleanor's body. The symbol on her hand was still there, unchanged by his touch or the passage of time. And yet there was something about it that seemed strangely familiar, as if he had seen it before in some distant place or another life entirely. But where could such a thing be found? What possible connection could this symbol have to Eleanor's murder? Ethan knew the key to answering his questions lay within Ravenwood itself, hidden away amidst the dusty old records and forgotten artifacts of its past. With Dr. Walsh at his side, he set out on a journey through the town's history, hoping to uncover some clue that would lead them closer to the truth behind Eleanor's death. As they delved deeper into Ravenwood's past, Ethan began to realize just how intertwined the lives of its inhabitants truly were. Every person they met seemed to have a connection to the town's history. Whether through bloodlines or shared experiences, they all played a role in shaping the present-day reality of Ravenwood. One such individual was an elderly woman named Margaret, who claimed to be the last surviving member of a long line of healers that had once called this place home. As they sat together in her small cottage, she regaled them with tales of her ancestors and their mysterious powers over life and death. Margaret spoke of a time when Ravenwood was a thriving community, its people united by their shared belief in the supernatural forces that governed their lives. She told them about the healers who could cure any illness or injury with little more than a touch of their hands, and the witches who were said to possess the ability to see into the future. But as time passed and the world around them changed, so too did Ravenwood's inhabitants begin to drift apart from one another. The healers and witches who had once been the backbone of the community were slowly marginalized by those who sought to control their abilities for personal gain. In time, they became little more than whispers in the wind, forgotten relics of a bygone era. Ethan strained to hear Margaret's voice, every word a potential clue in the tangled web of Eleanor's murder. He knew that there had to be some connection between her death and Ravenwood's dark history, but unraveling the threads proved more challenging than he could have ever imagined. The duo found themselves immersed in the dusty archives of the town museum, a labyrinthine structure teeming with relics from days gone by. Among the crumbling walls and dimly lit corridors, they hoped to unearth some clue that would shed light on the enigma surrounding Eleanor's demise. It wasn't long before Ethan stumbled upon a series of aged texts detailing Ravenwood's healers and seers. As he turned each page, he began to notice something peculiar about the illustrations accompanying each entry. Many featured individuals who bore an uncanny resemblance to Eleanor herself. Intrigued by this find, Ethan presented his discovery to Dr. Walsh, hoping she could provide some context for these odd connections between past and present. She studied the images closely before nodding thoughtfully. "These are records of our ancestors, people who were endowed with the gift of healing or foresight. But what does this have to do with Eleanor's murder? Ethan asked, growing more impatient as they delved deeper into these ancient texts. Dr. Walsh hesitated before replying. I don't know yet, but I feel we're getting closer to the truth. With this newfound knowledge in hand, Ethan and Dr. Walsh returned to the crime scene once more, determined to uncover any remaining clues that might help them solve the mystery of Eleanor's death. As they stood there together beneath the brooding clouds, they couldn't help but feel as if they were on the precipice of some great revelation, one that would finally bring closure to this tragic event. As they resumed their investigation, Ethan could see that Dr. Walsh was growing increasingly agitated by the lack of progress they had made so far. It was clear that she felt a tremendous responsibility to find out who was responsible for Eleanor's murder, not only because of her mentor's death, but also due to the fact that she too had inherited some of these same mystical abilities. With this in mind, Ethan decided to share his own recent experiences with Dr. Walsh, hoping that perhaps they might hold some answers for both of them. He recounted the strange symbol he had found on Eleanor's body and the cryptic message that accompanied it. Find the key, unlock the truth. Dr. Walsh listened intently as Ethan spoke, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief. The symbol was unlike anything they had ever encountered before, a complex combination of intricate runes and ancient symbols. It seemed like a puzzle waiting to be solved, but what could it possibly mean? And more importantly, where did this key fit? Together, they delved deeper into the town's history, searching for any clues that might shed light on the meaning behind the symbol. As they explored ancient texts and deciphered cryptic messages, a sense of urgency began to take hold of them both. They knew that time was running out. Someone was still out there, hiding in the shadows. Their search eventually led them to a hidden underground chamber where an ancient artifact lay dormant for centuries. With trembling hands, Dr. Walsh reached out and touched the keyhole etched into the stone wall before her. A faint glow emanated from within, illuminating the room with an eerie light. As the walls around them began to crumble and reveal hidden passages, they realized that this was no ordinary quest for answers. It was a race against time. The key had unlocked something far more sinister than they ever could have imagined, and now it was up to them to stop whatever darkness lay beyond those ancient doors. Together, Ethan and Dr. Walsh navigated through treacherous tunnels. Each step brought them closer to uncovering the truth behind Eleanor's murder, but also closer to a fate they could never have anticipated. As they stood on the precipice of discovering what truly lay beyond those hidden doors, they knew that whatever waited for them would change their lives forever. And as the shadows threatened to consume them all, they realized that sometimes the key to unlocking the truth was right there in front of you, if only you had the courage to seek it out. One evening, as they sat together in Margaret's cottage, Ethan found himself drawn to an old journal tucked away in a dusty corner of the room. It was filled with cryptic notes and drawings that seemed to hint at some greater truth lying just beneath the surface of reality itself. As he flipped through the pages, he stumbled upon a series of sketches depicting various symbols and sigils, many of which bore an uncanny resemblance to those found on Eleanor's hand. This discovery only served to deepen his fascination with this ancient world and its connections to the present-day reality of Ravenwood. With Dr. Walsh by his side, Ethan began to explore the meaning behind these symbols and sigils, hoping that they might hold some clue as to why Eleanor had been targeted in such a gruesome manner. As they delved deeper into their studies, they soon discovered that each symbol represented a different aspect of human existence: love, death, hope, despair. It was clear that these symbols were not merely decorative elements or religious icons. They were powerful tools capable of influencing the course of one's life in ways both subtle and profound. And yet, despite their seemingly limitless potential, there were those who sought to exploit them for their own personal gain. As Ethan continued his research, he began to suspect that someone within Ravenwood was using these symbols as a means of exerting control over the town's inhabitants, twisting their natural abilities into weapons capable of inflicting untold harm upon those who dared to challenge them. Chapter 4. The Truth Revealed. Chapter 4. The truth revealed. As Ethan and Serena delved deeper into the investigation of Eleanor's murder, their bond grew stronger. Driven by a shared passion for uncovering truth and understanding, they drew ever closer together. Chapter 5. Confrontation. Chapter 5. Confrontation. The moon had risen high above, casting its ghostly glow over Ravenwood and bathing everything in an eerie light. The air was thick with tension as the townspeople huddled together, their voices barely more than whispers as they prayed for safety from whatever fear Eleanor had planned to unleash upon them during her ritual. Ethan and Serena felt it too, the weight of the situation bearing down on them as they prepared themselves for whatever challenges lay ahead. They knew what they needed to do: stop Eleanor before she could complete her ritual and unleash the dark energy upon Ravenwood. As they approached the hidden location, where they believed Eleanor would perform the ritual, they could sense the evil energy surrounding it, growing stronger by the second. It was as if an invisible barrier was preventing them from entering the cave. But they refused to give up, not when so much was at stake. With determination in their hearts and courage in their souls, Ethan and Serena faced whatever challenges lay ahead, ready to confront Eleanor and put an end to her dark reign once and for all. With pounding hearts and determination etched into their faces, Ethan and Serena advanced towards the cave, guided by an unseen force as if propelled by some hidden current within the darkness beyond perception. The tension hung heavy in the air around them, a palpable weight that they carried with every step forward. Eleanor was crouched before the altar strewn with flickering candles and offerings, her eyes wide and vacant as she prepared to perform the ritual that would seal Ravenwood's fate forever. Her madness and desperation fueled her actions, driving her towards the completion of a task she had been practicing for years, slowly gathering power until this final moment of destruction. Ethan and Serena knew they were running out of time, their only hope being to stop Eleanor before she could complete the ritual. As they examined the symbols carved into rocks and trees surrounding the cave entrance, they began piecing together the information they had gathered during their investigation of Eleanor's rituals. It seemed that her connection to the curse was far deeper than anyone could have imagined. Years of dark magic practice had led her to this point where she now held immense power over Ravenwood's destiny. But among these symbols of darkness, there was also a glimmer of hope, a way to break the curse and restore peace and harmony once again. It involved making a selfless sacrifice, absorbing the dark energy within Eleanor and banishing it back to its source. But they knew that if anyone could do it, it would be them, Ethan and Serena, bound together not only by love, but also by their shared destiny forged in the fires of darkness and light alike. As Ethan and Serena entered the cave, Eleanor transformed into a powerful werewolf form, her eyes blazing with fury as she prepared to defend herself against their assault. She was no longer human. She had become something far more dangerous, an embodiment of darkness itself. But Ethan and Serena refused to back down, determined to stop Eleanor before it was too late. They knew that they couldn't defeat her on their own, so they decided to work together, combining their knowledge of town legends with Serena's family connection to the curse in order to create a plan that would give them the edge they needed. They started by casting a circle around the altar, using ancient runes to channel the dark energy that had been building up within Eleanor and around the cave itself. As the circle took shape, Ethan and Serena felt a strange sense of power coursing through their veins, as if they were tapping into something far greater than themselves. Next, they called upon the spirits of Ravenwood's ancestors to lend them strength during this critical moment. They knew that these ancient beings had been watching over the town for generations, and they hoped that by reaching out to them, they could tap into their collective wisdom and power in order to break the curse once and for all. Finally, they faced Eleanor head-on, using a combination of physical force and magical abilities to try and stop her from carrying out the ritual. Serena used her knowledge of the curse to cast spells that would weaken Eleanor's defenses, while Ethan fought with all his strength, determined not to let her get away with her plans for destruction. Each movement was precise, each word was calculated as they worked tirelessly to thwart Eleanor's dark intentions. The atmosphere in the cave grew thick with tension and determination. As the battle raged inside the cave, night enveloped Ravenwood in its darkness, as if it had come early. They prayed silently to any gods who might listen, pleading for salvation from this nightmare they had unintentionally unleashed upon themselves. Inside the cave, Ethan and Serena fought with every ounce of strength they possessed, refusing to give up until Eleanor was finally vanquished. It was a vicious battle, but in the end, they emerged victorious. The dark energy that had been gathering within her was absorbed into their bodies, leaving them both drained and battered, yet triumphant nonetheless. Eleanor lay lifeless on the ground, while Ethan and Serena collapsed beside her, gasping for breath after their harrowing ordeal. They had done it. They had broken the curse and restored peace to Ravenwood once more. But at what cost? The weeks that followed saw life slowly returning to normal in Ravenwood, as the townspeople came to terms with what transpired during Eleanor's ritual. They held a memorial service for her, acknowledging her role in their survival, but also serving as a reminder of the dangers lurking within the shadows. Ethan and Serena were hailed as heroes by the townspeople, but they remained humble throughout it all, knowing that they had merely been pawns in fate's grand design, bound together not only by love, but also by a shared destiny forged in the fires of darkness and light alike. They had saved Ravenwood from destruction, but they knew that their journey was far from over. In the days that followed, Ethan and Serena reflected on their experiences, grappling with their newfound responsibilities and the weight of their victory. As they navigated this uncertain future, they found solace in each other's company, knowing that together they could face any challenge that came their way. The aftermath of breaking the curse was a time of mixed emotions for Ethan and Serena. They were hailed as heroes in their small town, but they couldn't help but feel a sense of loss over Eleanor's death. As they sat on the steps of the old church gazing at the serene streets below, they shared a moment of silence before beginning to speak. "I don't know how we did it," Serena murmured, her eyes fixed on the now empty town square. "It feels like we were destined for this." "What happens now that the curse is broken?" Ethan shrugged, his expression a mix of determination and worry. "We can't ignore them completely, can we? We need to keep an eye on things, make sure there aren't any other threats out there." They fell into a comfortable silence then, their conversation barely audible over the whispering leaves above them. The weight of what they'd accomplished hung heavy in the air between them as they sat side by side, watching the sun set over Ravenwood. One afternoon, while wandering through the park where they had first discovered the ancient runes, Ethan stumbled upon something concealed beneath the foliage on the ground, occurrences in Ravenwood over the centuries. He picked it up carefully, not wishing to disturb whatever had left it there for him to discover. As he leafed through the pages, he realized that the author was none other than his great-grandfather, who had been obsessed with unveiling the truth about Ravenwood's supernatural past. Ethan felt an unexpected connection to this man he had never known and vowed to continue his legacy by seeking out the answers they both so desperately sought. His first move was to confide in Serena about his findings. "I think we need to delve into these old tales about our town," he confided one evening over dinner at her family's home. "Maybe there's still something lurking that needs our attention." Serena nodded thoughtfully, grasping the urgency in Ethan's voice. "We can start by going through your great-grandfather's notes and see what we can unearth." Over the ensuing weeks, they spent countless hours poring over the notebook together, uncovering a plethora of information about Ravenwood's concealed past. They unearthed narratives of lost love, forgotten legends, and even hints of sinister forces lurking just beneath the surface of their seemingly peaceful town. As they delved deeper into these stories, Ethan began to understand that lifting the curse hadn't been enough. There was still more work to be done if they desired to ensure Ravenwood's safety for generations to come. He decided then and there that he would dedicate his career as a journalist to uncovering the truth about their town's supernatural past, and perhaps, in doing so, he could finally put his own demons to rest. One day while scouting the nearby woods, Ethan happened upon an ancient cave system that had been sealed off for ages. He sensed instinctively it was connected somehow with the curse they just thwarted, but he couldn't be certain without further investigation. Determined not to let this chance escape them, he enlisted Serena's help once more, and together they ventured into the bowels of the cave in search of answers. As they delved deeper into the abyss, they found themselves ensconced by a chilling hush that reverberated with the weight of all the secrets buried within these walls. Finally, after hours spent unearthing mysteries, they stumbled upon an underground chamber replete with antique artifacts and runes etched onto the stone walls. Ethan's heart raced as he realized what they had uncovered, a direct link between Ravenwood and the forces of darkness that had haunted their town for generations. In the dim light, surrounded by centuries-old relics and the whispers of spirits unseen, Ethan knew without doubt that this was merely the beginning of their journey into the unknown. With Serena at his side and a newfound resolve in his heart, he vowed to continue searching for answers, wherever it led them or what dangers lay ahead.